Hey, Christy Mattoon here with Mind Rewire. I just wanted to get on today and talk for a few minutes about the 3 things that you need to know, that you need to do in order to create permanent change in your life. And it's one of the things that I talk with people about all the time. I find it a really interesting subject because most people either try and do 1 or 2 different things and you don't realize that it's all one huge whole piece. You can't really take it apart. Most people, once they actually start a process of change, they hit on all the areas. You can't help but not. It has to happen that way. And some of the key areas for change and growth that people will touch on is spiritual, right? That's a big one. You've got your mentality, your mental, the mindset. You've got a nutrition piece in there, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Movement, exercise, making sure your body's moving and functioning properly. That's a big piece of it. And then the last one is a whole nother part we'll get to in a second that I want to talk about. But right now we're just talking about 3 of these. All right, the first one that I want to talk about with you today is mindset. And it's not just changing your mindset, it's taking care of your mindset, taking care of your mind, taking care of your mentality. The things that you think about, the things that you allow into your awareness, the things that you allow to be around you, the people you allow in or not, becomes a huge part of all of this. A lot of times people who go through huge changes find that the people around them shift. The people around them sometimes don't want to be around you anymore. You've changed so much. Or maybe you don't want to be there with them. It can happen from either direction. I know it happened in my life pretty hardcore. And I still think some of it was extenuating circumstances. And you have to kind of work through and mitigate, right? And again, taking care of your mindset, even in the stuff that's hard and doesn't make sense. How do you take care of your mindset? What are you doing for that? It's a big piece of change. It's a big piece, especially when you're starting, just realizing that you're in a position where you don't want what you've got in your life. And I'm not saying that from a bad place. I'm saying, it could be anything. It could be food addictions of any kind, drug, alcohol, addiction to people abusing you, right? The codependency kind of idea. It could be something where you're just kind of stuck in life and you can't seem to rev yourself up to get it going and you can't quite figure out what it is, but it has a feeling to it, it has a certain flavor to it, but you can't quite figure out what that thing is. It's all part of your mentality. It's all part of what's locked up there in your brain. And if you don't take care of that, if you don't nurture it, if you don't look at it, if you don't hold on to it a little bit and give it some love and some care, eventually these negative things just take over. And that's usually what forces people to stand in front of somebody like me. You've gone through the gamut. I get people, clients that come to me telling me stories that they've done this, they've done that, they've talked to the doctors, they've seen psychologists, they've walked on fire. I've got people who have taken certification courses for things like hypnosis, Reiki, other techniques, EFT. They do all of this kind of stuff, but can't seem to quite figure out, like there's something underneath there somewhere that just isn't right. It makes me not feel right. And that's where we get into the subconscious stuff, and that's where I love to sit with people and help them find a different way to move through the mindset and the mentality parts of life, right? You can't take it out. It's got to be included as a part of it. You can't ignore it. At some point, it's going to rev up and kick you. So you've got to be ready to stop and kind of piece that out and take a look at it. The second part I want to talk to you about, and a lot of people view these kind of separately, but they're not. They're really all part of the same thing, is your nutrition. What are you eating? What are you fueling and informing your body with? Because at the end of the day, that's truly what food is. It's information to your system and it's fuel. And if you're putting stuff in your body that's causing problems, the chemicals, the additives, the preservatives, the list is endless, the stuff, the GMOs, the things that they're doing to the food supply that's altering it and making it different, our bodies don't even know what this stuff is, let alone know what to do with it. It's not fuel and it's not information that's good. It's giving us bad information in our systems. And what are we getting from that bad information? You're getting disease processes all across the board. All right, if we take the food supply back apart, clean it back up, where do you think our diseases issues are going to end up at? Yeah, my guess is probably back to pretty much nothing. We'll be back to just dealing with the basic rudimentary stuff that's caused because people aren't clean or people aren't, right? But it doesn't have to do with the food supply. So thinking about your nutrition, we know that some of the GMOs, the glyphosate and some of those the BT toxins, are neuroprohibitive. They cause problems with your neurotransmitters. They cause you to stop being able to produce things like dopamine. And down the line into your gut, they actually kill the good and the bad bacteria that helps your body flourish and grow and stay healthy. Right? From your brain to your gut, all of these things start getting wiped out. How do you expect to stay healthy? And even if we're looking at the mindset issues, if the nutrition isn't working in regards and to function in your life, we can do all the stuff all day long that you want to do, but that nutrition is going to keep derailing the project. Especially if you're eating stuff and you don't even know what you're eating. If you're eating things that are chemically laden and causing a chemical problem in your body, and from the bad chemicals that those things are to the good chemicals that you can utilize inside your system, it causes a mess, right? The food is like a toxic soup that we just kind of dump down our throats, and I don't think we ever really stop and realize what it's doing to us. So if you want to clean up the mindset, the second thing you got to think about is, okay, what am I eating? Is it hurting me or is it helping me? And I tell people this all the time, hold it in your hands. I've actually got a video, I'll try and link it back to this one in here somewhere, that's about food energy. Hold an apple, an organic apple in your hand, and hold a Snicker bar. Feel the difference. You can feel it. You can feel the chemicals. Our bodies are designed to repel and run away from danger and poison. And you can feel it in the food supply. You can feel it in the things that you're trying to put in your body and call food. So I want you to really start thinking about that and taking notice of it. And just as much as you become aware of the things that run through your mind and you're trying to counter the negative stuff and input the positive things, become aware of your nutrition. Become hyper aware of what you're putting inside of your body. Does it have poison? Does it have food coloring? Does it have preservatives? Is it chemically laden? Are you causing your body to chemically and toxically overload? I talked to a woman this morning, bless her heart. She said she just can't think. She's like, I can't think, I can't remember stuff, I can't think. Like, people tell me things and talk about things. She goes, I don't get it. I don't get any of it. She goes, I keep watching all these videos online. She goes, it's how I found you, was a video. She goes, but I'm sitting there listening to it. She goes, the reason I called you was because I resonated with your story about being overweight and trying to lose all the weight. She goes, but I just don't get it. She's like, I know you're supposed to eat different, and I know this and I know that. She goes, I can't do any of it. I can't make any of it work. That's some of the chemicals she's eating, and probably a lot of the sugar talking to her, right? That's brain fog. That's what brain fog does to you. So think about the food. Counter it. If you want to eat something negative, you have to come against it. If it's an addiction problem, like an addiction to sugar, and some of these chemicals, some of the foods themselves are actually very addictive because of the way they've heightened the bliss points to them. Very, very addictive. So you have to keep coming against it. You have to keep saying no, and you have to keep walking away. If it's something that's lodged in your subconscious mind, a protocol like Mind Rewire can actually help undo that. Right? So it's a different way of coming at it. There's just different ways that you can come at this. And I think as many ways as you can possibly utilize is what you want to do. You don't want to just be like, okay, exercise is going to solve everything. It's not. Nutrition is going to solve everything. Probably not. It's going to solve a lot of stuff, especially getting your body detoxified. Even just doing mindset work. Is it going to solve everything? Probably not. It's going to help. It's going to help a ton. But to get all the pieces working and functioning together, we have to do all the pieces and get them working and functioning together. You have to do all the little things. The last thing I want to talk to you about, I said 3 things that you need to know in order to create permanent change. The last one is just choice. You need to know you have to make a choice. You have to decide, what do you want to do? Do you want to get healthy or do you want to stay where you are? Because the choice will direct what direction you go. Whether you decide to clean up your nutrition, whether you decide to make some serious mental adjustments, mental mindset changes, is going to really depict where you end up next month, next year, 2 years from now. And if you think you can sit and keep eating the same things and be like, oh, it'll be all right, it'll be okay, we get the little voice in our head that says, no, you're fine, you can have that little bit of whatever. If it's poison in your system, your body's going to react to it at some point. You're going to get enough of it built up in there, you're going to get a reaction. Same with toxic thinking. If you keep trying to shove the junk down under the carpet, guess what's going to be under the carpet? All the junk. You got to pull it out of there at some point and get rid of it. And it doesn't mean you have to hash through it. It doesn't mean you have to sit there and pull it apart and look at it. You don't have to. We can take it apart. And what I mean by taking it apart is with the neuroplasticity in your brain, the memory, the thought, the belief, if it has a feeling to it, it means it has an emotional association, an emotional attachment to it. And what we do is we just take that emotional attachment, pull it far enough away from the memory that you don't have to keep going back through the emotion of it. The memory will still be there. You can look at it if you want to. We can even soften that up, start pulling that apart if you don't want to, if you're like, I just don't need to remember this anymore. I really don't believe at the end of the day we were created to keep going through and hashing through our past. It's done, it's gone. I would like to say it doesn't matter, but for most of us it severely matters because it keeps coming back up in the present. Every time you try and do something, every time you try and become something else, every time you try and move forward, forward is not in the direction of the stuff that happened in your past. If you don't have to look at that and keep remembering it, just think of what you could do. Isn't that crazy? What a crazy thought. If I don't have to keep remembering the junk from my past, what could I do with my present? What could I do with my future? What can I create? And I know there's some things that go on that are kind of ongoing circumstances because I'm in one of those myself. You have to take care of that in the moment too. And that's totally fine. And that's what we do. We keep taking care of that in the middle of it. You take care of your mindset in the middle of it. You make sure you're eating right. You make sure you're doing all the good stuff. But it's a choice. It's a choice you have to stop and decide to make. So I'm going to leave you here. I think that's probably good for right now. My name is Christy Mattoon. MindRewire.com is my site. It's what I do. I love to talk to people about this stuff. Never hesitate to shoot me an email at Christy@MindRewire.com. Give me a yell. And peace. We'll be talking to you soon. Hey, as always, thank you for being here with Mind Rewire. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and subscribe if you're watching this video. Click the bell if you want notifications for whenever I come back on and do live feeds. So once in a while I do those. I throw up videos every once in a while. I'm trying to get more steady at that. But go ahead and click that bell, subscribe to Mind Rewire, and I can't wait to keep bringing you content that's going to be beneficial and helpful for your life.